Hello everyone. Today we are starting with conditional statement. In the previous lecture we have completed the operators in Python. In the operators lecture we have three parts and in those parts we have discussed all the operators supported by the Python language like arithmetic operator, assignment operator, comparison or relational operator, and we have discussed the membership operator, identity operator. So you can check the three different lecture, part 1, part 2 and part 3, where we have discussed the complete operators in Python. In this lecture we are going to discuss the conditional statement, but before discussing the conditional statement we will discuss how many different types of statements are there which are supported by Python. So there are three different types of statements. There are three types of statements supported by the Python language. So what are the three different types? There are three types of statements supported by Python. Number one is sequential. Okay. The number one is sequential statement. Number two is, sequential. Number two is conditional statement. Number three is looping statement. Looping, or we can also call them as iterative statement or iterative statement. So these the three different types of statements are supported by Python language. In this lecture we are going to discuss the conditional statement and we are also going to discuss looping statement in later lecture. So first let's discuss sequential statements. Are those statements which are executed in the same sequence in which they are defined in the program one by one. They are compulsory statement. They will always be executed. They will only be not executed if the program has been terminated by an unusual circumstance like an exception or error has arisen due to which the execution of the program is hampered. Then only sequential statements won't be executed. Otherwise, if you are running or executing a bug-free program, the sequence statement will be compulsory executed. For example, if you take this example of the program, if the following statement have been defined in the program, they will be executed in the same sequence. Like first statement will be executed, followed by the second statement, followed by the third statement, followed by the fourth statement, and likewise the statements will be executed. This is known as sequential statement. In this case, or in the case of sequential statement, every statement is compulsory statement. You cannot skip any statement or you cannot jump any statement. Every statement is to be executed and they are to be executed in the sequence. That means second statement can never be executed before the first statement. Likewise, third statement can never be executed before the second statement. And one most important thing is sequential statements are the default statement. If you write a program, general statements are all sequential in nature. Now, what we are going to discuss in this are what is conditional statement. So we have known what is a sequential statement now, that they are those statements which are executed in the same sequence in which they are written in the program, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they will be executed. And they are compulsory in nature. None of the statement can be skipped or can be avoided. Every statement is compulsory and they will be executed in the sequence in which they are defined. Now, what is conditional statement? So, conditional statement are those statements which are dependent upon a condition and their execution is dependent upon that condition. Okay. So, again I am repeating, the conditional statement are those statements whose execution is dependent upon the condition. They will only be executed if the condition is satisfied. If the condition is not satisfied, then these conditional statements won't be executed. Now, what is a condition? A condition is a very simple thing. Any expression written in Python. Now, what is an expression? An expression is nothing but an operation. We have discussed this also in the previous lectures. What is an operation or expression? Anything like a plus b is an expression or an operation. A minus b, a greater than b, a less than b, all these are expression or operation where we are doing certain operation, like a plus b is an additional statement, a minus b is a subtraction statement, this is a comparison statement, this is again a comparison statement. So now what is a condition? A condition is nothing but an expression or a statement. So what's special about that statement? Actually, these statements or these expression are those exclusive statement which only contains the relational operator. Relational operator or comparison operator. Relational operator is also known as comparison operator. And in the previous lecture on operators, we have discussed all the operators. So if you are not aware about the comparison operator, please go and check the comparison operator or relational operator. Everything has been discussed in detail. So there are 6 comparison or relational operator, and they are less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, and not equal to. So if an expression is containing any of these 6 operators, that is, if I write A is more than B, this expression is containing a comparison operator. Okay. Similarly, if I write A is less than B, again this expression is containing a relational or comparison operator. If I write A equal to B is again a comparison. If I write A is not equal to B is again a comparison. So all such expression or statement containing a relational or comparison operator are known as condition. So these are special expression which are containing the relational or comparison operator. They are known as or termed as or are called as condition. Why? Because these statement gives only two output, possible output. One is true, other is false. Whenever you write an expression which is a conditional statement or a condition, it will be giving either true as the result or false as the result. There won't be any third output in those expressions. So these expression or these statements are known as condition. So what are conditional statement? Those statement who are dependent upon condition. So if a condition is written like A is more than B, those statement which are dependent and will only be executed when the condition is satisfied. What is mean by satisfied or satisfaction of condition? If a condition is giving true as the output, we say that the condition is satisfied. And if the condition is false or the result of the condition is false, we will say the condition is not satisfied. Okay. So if the conditional statement have been defined or they are dependent upon the condition, their execution is dependent upon the output of condition. If the condition will be true, only in that case, the statements will be executed. Otherwise, if the condition is false, those statements won't be executed. I hope this is clear to everyone. We'll take example to understand this, but before that, let's discuss the looping statement or iterative statement. Then we'll go into detail of conditional statement. So, what are looping statement? Looping statement are those statements which has to be executed for more than one time. If the execution of a statement or a group of statement is to be done more than one time, then in that case looping statements are used. So looping statement or statements are nothing but a group of statement or a single statement which has to be executed for more than one time. Whenever we have to execute a statement or a group of statement for more than one time, means those statements need to be repeated for a specific number of times. Say if I have to do a task for 5 times or 10 times or more times, in those cases we apply the looping statement or iterative statement. We don't have to go into detail of the looping statement because we will be creating a separate lecture on this looping and iterative statement. For time being, only we need to know is are such statement which are need to be executed for more than one time. In normal case, if you don't know the looping or iterative statement, what I will do, for example, if I have a program, say if this is the program, and if in this program I have to execute, so there are 7 statements written in this program. If you can see, these are the 7 statements in this program, and if I need to execute this 7 statement for more than one time, what in normal circumstance, if you are not aware of looping statement, what we'll do, we will rewrite those statement again. For example, if I have to repeat this statement for 10 times, what we have to do, we have to write this 7 statement for 10 times. That means I have to write 70 statements. But if I take the help of a loop, I don't have to rewrite them for 10 times. I have to only write them for one time, and I will enclose or put them inside a loop, and that loop will repeat them for that number of time which we have asked the loop to do. For example, if I say please execute this set of 7 statement for 10 times, the loop will execute or repeat the same set of statement for specified number of time. Say if I say n times, it will execute for n time. It could be anything. It could be 2, 5, 10, 100, 500, 5000 or any number of time. So looping statement are used to repeat a statement or a set of statement for a specified number of time. So this is a case of reusability. You don't have to repeat or redefine the statement. Okay. So let's now concentrate on the conditional statement. As we have defined, conditional statement are nothing but those statement or group of statements whose execution is dependent upon a condition. Now we have also discussed what is a condition. Condition is nothing but an expression or statement which is involving a relational or comparison operator, and those statement or expression only gives us two possible output, true or false. A condition is said to be satisfied if the output is true, and when the condition is satisfied, that is the output is true, then the statement will be executed, otherwise they won't be executed. So in this case we need to understand that the conditional statement are not compulsory statement. As we have discussed in the sequential statement, the sequential statement are compulsory in nature. If you have defined a sequential statement, they will be definitely executed. Their execution is compulsory, but the conditional statement won't be compulsory executed. Their execution is dependent upon a condition. They will only be executed if the condition given or attached with those statement is satisfied. That is, the output of that condition is true. Let's take a situation. Say you have to go and buy some grocery, and just imagine it's a rainy season. Then you have put a condition for yourself. You have applied certain condition that if the season, if the weather is rainy, then what we'll do, we will just go to the local grocery store and buy the compulsory grocery which is required. But if it's a good weather, then we'll go to the shopping mall and buy the grocery item which is required, plus we'll look for some attractive offers generally given at the shopping mall, and we'll go for additional purchase. So here it's a situation of conditional statement where we have put a condition for ourselves that if it's rainy, I will do this, I will go to the local grocery and do this and that, but if it is not so, I will go for this. So this is also a case of conditional statement. So such statements are known as conditional statement in programming also. So after knowing about the conditional statement, what is the conditional statement? Now let's talk about how do we define the conditional statement? How do we construct the conditional statement? The conditional statements are implemented through if keyword. Okay, if is a keyword which is used to implement the conditional statement. So let's look on to the syntax. How do we implement the conditional statement? For implementing conditional statement, we write if, then we put a space. After the space, we write the condition, and after the condition, you put a colon, and then you change the line, and inside this colon sign after the condition is the representation of a block statement. Now, wherever a statement or a group of statement are dependent or are part of a header statement, in this case, the if and the condition are forming the header, and if a statement or a group of statement are to be dependent upon or are part of this particular header, then such statement are followed by this colon. Okay, and when we change the line, Python IDE, whatever IDE you are using, whether you are using the PyCharm or any other IDE, the cursor will auto indent itself, means the left side of the statement will have some extra space, and the cursor will be blinking little shifted towards right. And that means till you are writing the statement in this indented form, that means all those statements which are indented are part of the given block statement. So if statement, which is a conditional statement, is an example of block statement. We'll be discussing this block statement, but for time being you should know that block statements are such statement. So when you press the enter key after colon, the cursor will start blinking indented, means some extra space will be added towards left and the cursor will be blinking little shifted towards right. This is indication that this statement is coming under this block, this if condition block. Now if you write certain statements, say S1, S2, S3 or S4, now this entire block is known as if block. Okay, and the statements which are defined inside this block known as if block will only be executed if this condition is satisfied. We have already discussed that the condition is only going to give us two possible output. What are those two possible output? Either it will be true or false. So in the case when the condition is satisfied, that is the output is true, then these statements will be executed. And what will happen if the condition is false or not satisfied? In that case, the entire if block, the statement or group of statements which are in the if block will be skipped. Skipped means they won't be executed and the control will directly jump outside the if block. And if there are any following statement after the if block, say there is F statement S5 and S6, the execution will start from those statements, but the statement which are inside the if block won't be executed. So this is how the conditional statements are implemented. So in this situation which we have discussed just now, that if a condition has been implemented, if a conditional statement has been implemented through if block or if statement or if keyword, the statement or a group of statement will only be executed if the condition is satisfied. What if we want that if the condition is satisfied, a group of statement has to be executed? If the statement is not satisfied, in that case a different set of action or set of statements should be executed, as the example which we have taken, that if it's rainy, we'll go for the local grocery shop. If it's not raining, we'll go for shopping mall. If it's raining, we will go for the compulsory grocery item. If it's not raining, we will go for the shopping mall where we will buy the compulsory grocery, plus we will take the offer, look for the offers, and will buy some additional groceries. So in the same situation or in the similar situation, if I am defining a conditional statement, say if I am defining if condition, and in this case in the conditional statement I have put certain statements, say S1 and S2, and if the condition is satisfied, as I have said, that condition will give us output either true or false. If the condition is satisfied, then the statement given in the if block will be executed. But we want to also decide that if the condition is not false, we know that the statement given in if block will be skipped. So in that case, I want to execute a different set of statement, or we need to take a different course of action. For that, we use else block. So you have to write an else keyword followed by a colon, and inside that block you can write certain statement, and those statement will only be executed if the condition is not satisfied or if the condition is false. So this is the entire conditional statement, where if condition creates a block of statement which are executed when the condition is true, and else block define those statement which are to be executed when the condition is false. Please note that if condition or if statement can exist independently, that is, they can be defined without defining the else block, whereas else block cannot exist independently. They are always present along with if condition. That means if a if condition has defined, then only else statement or else block can be defined. It cannot exist independently, whereas if block can exist independently. And one more thing, if statement should always be defined before the else block, and else block should also always be defined after the if block. And the last thing is, in between if and else block there should not be any extra statement, that is, they should be in continuation. Just after the end of if block, immediately you have to define the else block. You cannot define if block and after if block, if you think I have put two statements, then I have started with normal programming, then I have started defining the else block. No, this won't work. Wherever you are defining if else block, the if else block has to be defined in a continuous manner. Just where the if block is ending, you have to start defining the else block. And the last thing about else block is, in if block you put a condition, but else block don't have any condition. They are only written else keyword and followed by the colon, because they don't need a condition. They are dependent upon the condition which is defined with if block. They are meant to be executed when that condition is not satisfied or giving us false as the result. So I think this is clear to everyone. Let's start with the example. Let's start creating a new file, name it as conditional. So now in this file we are going to take some example of conditional statement. Let's start with a simple example. Say we have a number and we are going to check that whether the number is greater than a specific value or not. Say enter a number, and now we will put the condition says if num is more than 10, we will print num is greater than 10. You can check that whenever we give a conditional statement, if is the keyword which start the condition followed by the condition, there is a space in between if and the condition, and the condition is terminated by a colon. And as soon as you change the line, as we have discussed, that there is an indentation which is preceding the statement which are belonging to the if block. So in this case, this statement will only be executed if the value given by us to this number is more than 10. So let's execute the program and check. Let's increase the size this of the result window. Now let's take an example, say 8. Nothing has been displayed because in this case the condition is not satisfied because the value given is 8 and is not more than 10, and in this case the statement given is part of if block and will only be executed if the condition is true. Let's do one more thing. If we have to come out of the conditional statement, that is if I have to come out and define certain statement of if block, I will just press the backspace key and will remove the indentation. So if I write any statement, say program completes, okay, so in this case this statement will be executed at the end of the program. It doesn't depend on this condition, because if you check the indentation specifies that this statement is at the same level. So this statement is a normal statement which is not part of if block, whereas this statement has indentation before it, which means that it is part of this if block. So this statement is dependent upon the condition, will only be executed if the condition is satisfied, but this statement, despite whether the condition is satisfied or not, this statement will be executed. So let's run the program again. Say this time I am again entering a value, say 9. You can check that the statement given inside the if block has not executed, as we have discussed that this is dependent upon the condition and is not executed because condition is not satisfied, but the last statement which we have given will be executed whether the condition is true or false, because this is out of the if block and are not dependent upon the condition. Let's execute the program again, and this time let's enter a value, say 12. So you can find that the statement which is given inside the if block, that is num is greater than 10, has also executed, whereas the last statement is also executed. So this statement this time has executed because the condition is satisfied. Now say if we have to compare two numbers, say number 1 and number 2, let's take the value for the second number also, and now we will compare the numbers num1, whether the num1 is greater than num2. If the num1 is greater than num2, we will display the number, the first number, stating that num1 is greater than the num2. Okay, so if I run the program again, say number is 12, second number is 13. So in this case, or not 13, let's say 10. So in this case it says that the num1 which is 12 is greater than the second number which is 10, and the program complete. This statement is getting executed because the number 1 is greater than the number 2. So condition is getting satisfied. So the statement inside the if block is also executed and the statement following is also executed. Now if I have to specify a statement for the false scenario, say in this case the if block will be executed if the condition is satisfied, but what if the condition is not satisfied? Say if the first number is not greater than the second number, in that case no statement has been defined to be executed. For that only we do have the else block. So in this case, if I define an else block, as we have also said that else block is defined just after the if block, and in that case, if the first number is not more than the second number, in that case the else block will be executed, because the reverse is true. If the first number is not more than the second number, it's known that the second number is more than the first number. So in this case, I will print that the second number is more than the, that is num2 is more than or greater than the first number. So in this case, we have defined if block as well as else block. So if this condition given is satisfied, if block will be executed. If this condition is not satisfied, that is if the condition is false, then the else block will be executed, and the last statement will be executed whether the condition is true or false. So let's run the program. Say the first number is 12 and the second number is 13. So in this case, the first number is less than the second number. So this condition won't be satisfied. So in this case, the statement given in if block will be skipped, won't be executed, and the statement given in the else block will be executed, and along with the last statement which is out of the if and else block. So if I execute this program, it says that 13 is greater than 12, which is this statement, num2 is greater than num1. And if I rerun the program, and this time if I enter a value for the first number as 15 and second number as 10, in this case the first number is more, so the condition given with if block will be satisfied. So this statement will be executed, stating that 15, that is num1, is greater than num2, which is 10. So 15 is greater than 10, and the last statement, program completes, will be printed. Let's execute. So if you check the output, 15 is greater than 10 and the program complete. So let's check some more example. Say if I have to check whether a given number is positive number or negative number. How can we check that? Say I have taken a number and then I am checking a condition. If num1 is more than 0, what is a positive number? A number which is more than 0. So in this case, if I say if the number is more than the, we have missed the double quote. So in this case, if num1 is more than 0, then in that case the number is a positive number. So num1 is positive number or is positive. But if it is not so, if the number given is not more than 0, then in both the cases, that whether num1 is more than or equal to, even 0 is considered as positive. So we will take, if num1 is more than or equal to 0, it will be termed as positive. Otherwise, if it is not so, we will declare that the number is a negative number. So in this case, we will be declaring that if the num1 is not more than the given value, that is 0, or neither equal to, in that case num1 will be declared as negative. So let's run the program. Say the number is 12. So it's saying that number is positive, because in this case the number is satisfied, because the number is more than 0. So the number 1 is positive. But if I rerun the program and try to enter a value which is less than 0, say minus 3. So it's saying that minus 3 is a negative number. Okay, let's take one more example. Say we have to check whether a number is a positive number, not positive. We need to check whether a number is an even number or odd number. What's an even number? An even number is a number which is completely divisible by 2. What does the modulus operator do? If I divide two numbers, say num1 divided by num2, and if we apply the modulus operator, it gives the remainder. Okay, and if the remainder of a division is 0, that means a number is exactly or completely divisible. So in this case, what we will do to check a number is a even number, we will try to divide it with 2, and if we find that the remainder coming is 0, we can declare that that given number is an even number, and if it is not so, it will be declared as odd number. So let's write a program in which we are going to check a number whether the given number is a even number or odd number. So in this case, we have to only change the condition. Say if my number modulus 2 is equal to means we are comparing. So it will be double equal to is equal to 0, then the 1 is an even number. Okay, but if it is not so, then num1 is an odd number. So we have to check whether a number is an even number or odd number. So let's run the program. Let's enter a number, say 4. So if I will divide 4 by 2, the remainder is going to be 0. So it will declare that 4 is an even number. If I rerun the program and try to check, say 7, and in this case, the 7 is not completely divisible by 2, because if I divide 7 by 2, the modulus operator is applied, then the remainder is going to be 1, which is not equal to 0. So in this case, it will be declared as an odd number. So if we run the program and check whether 7 is an even number or odd number, it's declared that 7 is an odd number. So I think that the examples are clear to everyone and the concept of if-else block is clear to everyone. So that's all for this lecture. In the next lecture, we are going to discuss the further topics like nested if, and we are also going to discuss the if, elif and else ladder. They are the topics which are also to be discussed in the conditional statement. So in the next video, we will further be discussing the topics which are related to the conditional statement. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching the video, and please do give your valuable feedback after watching the video in the comment section. Thank you.